Today, I'm going to present before you a reading and review of the short story Karma by Khushwant Singh. As you all know, Khushwant Singh was born in the year 1950. He's a renowned Indian author, was trained as a lawyer at the Inner Temple, London. He pursued journalism and was an eminent diplomat. He had won several awards like the Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan. He had written several short stories and novels. To mention a few, The Voice of God and Other Stories, A Train to Pakistan, and The Company of Women. The learning objectives. On reading and reviewing this short story, the student will be able to identify and describe distinct literary characteristics of the short story form. Should be able to analyze short stories for their structure and meaning, and create a short story using topical setting and themes. What are the elements of a short story? Some of the basic elements are character, plot, setting, narrative style, theme, and literary devices. What do we mean by character? A character is a person, animal, being, creature, or thing in a story. Writers use characters to perform the actions and speak dialogue, moving the story along a plot line. The major characters in the story Karma are Sir Mohanlal and Lakshmi, his wife. The minor characters are a bearer, a coolie, and two English soldiers. What is the plot? It is a sequence of events that make up a story. It includes how the story develops, unfolds, and moves in time. The 5 elements of a plot are exposition or the beginning, rising action, climax, and the falling action. What is the plot of Karma? The word karma, as we know, means action, work, or deed. It also refers to the principle of cause and effect. In other words, the principle of causality. The short story Karma is about an Indian gentleman, Mohanlal, who tries to adopt upper-class English culture and lifestyle, such as speaking the Queen's English. He is ashamed of being an Indian and treats his simple, uneducated wife Lakshmi rather condescendingly. The turning point occurs during a train journey of Mohanlal and Lakshmi. He is duly rewarded by 2 British soldiers who crush his arrogance and sense of superiority. He learns a bitter lesson for his imitation of English culture and his disdainful treatment of his wife. What is setting? It refers to the time and place, the when and where of the story. It is a literary element introduced during the beginning of the story along with the characters. The setting may also include the environment of the story, which can be made up of the physical location, climate, weather, or social and cultural surroundings. In the short story Karma, a railway station is the setting. We have the waiting room, platform, and compartment presented. We also get to listen to the guard's whistle, sight of the jostling crowd, the hawker stall, and the water tap. What is theme and narrative style? Theme is the main idea or topic in the story, the essence. Third person omniscient narration. It is a method of storytelling in which the narrator knows the thoughts and feelings of all of the characters in the story. In Karma, we have 2 perspectives. In other words, 2 points of view, that of Sir Mohanlal and his wife Lakshmi. This helps the reader's understanding of the story Now, we shall move on to the story. Karma. Sir Mohanlal looked at himself in the mirror of a first-class waiting room at the railway station. "You are a bit of all right, old chap," it said. "Distinguished, efficient, even handsome. That neatly trimmed moustache, the suit from Savile Row with a carnation in the buttonhole, the aroma of eau de cologne, talcum powder, and scented soap all about you. Yes, old fellow, you are a bit of all right." "What do you mean by Savile Row?" Savile Row is a well-known street in London which is known for its expensive but traditional tailoring for men. And eau de cologne is a liquid with a pleasant fragrance. It is milder than a perfume. Sir Mohanlal glanced at his watch. There was still time for a quick one. "Go ahead." A bearer in white livery appeared through a wire gauze door. "Ik chota," ordered Sir Mohan, and sank into a large cane chair to drink and ruminate. Livery refers to a uniform worn by waiters, attenders. "Ik chota" refers to a small peg of drink. Sir Mohan is going to have a peg and ruminate, think deeply. Outside the waiting room, Sir Mohanlal's luggage lay piled along the wall. On a small grey steel trunk, Lakshmi, Lady Mohanlal, sat chewing a betel leaf and fanning herself with a newspaper. She was short and fat and in her middle 40s. She wore a dirty white sari with a red border. On one side of her nose glistened a diamond nose ring, and she had several gold bangles on her arms. She hailed a passing railway coolie. "Where does the Zenana stop?" "Right at the end of the platform," replied the coolie. Glistened. The diamond is glistening. It means it was shining on her nose. Zenana. Zenana is a middle-class train compartment reserved for ladies. Lady Lal picked up her brass tiffin carrier and ambled along behind him. On the way, she stopped by a hawker's stall to replenish her silver betel leaf case. And then she joined the coolie. Lady Lal opened the brass carrier and took out a bundle of cramped chapatis and some mango pickle. So we get a picture of Lady Lal. She was ambling. Ambling implies she was walking slowly because of her obese personality. And she was slowly walking towards the hawker stall to replenish, fill her betel leaf case. While she ate, the coolie sat opposite her on his haunches, drawing lines in the gravel with his finger. "Are you traveling alone, sister?" he asked. "No, I'm with my master brother. He is in the waiting room. He travels first class. He is a vizier and a barrister and meets so many officers and gentlemen in the trains, and I'm only a native woman. I can't understand English and don't know their ways, so I keep to my Zenana interclass." By haunches, we mean sitting with the part of one's body which includes bottom, hips, and the legs. Vizier is the most important advisor and helper of a powerful personality. A barrister is a kind of a lawyer trained in the United Kingdom. Lakshmi chatted away merrily. She was fond of a little gossip and had no one to talk to at home. Her husband never had any time to spare for her. She lived in the upper story of the house and he on the ground floor. He did not like her poor illiterate relatives hanging around his bungalow, so they never came. He came up to her once in a while at night and stayed for a few minutes. He just ordered her about in anglicized Hindustani, and she obeyed passively. These nocturnal visits had, however, borne no fruit. We have a picture of the relationship between Lakshmi and her husband. The anglicized Hindustani has Khushwant Singh presents. Lakshmi's relatives were illiterate and poor, uneducated. The signal came down, and the clanging of the bell announced the approaching train. Lady Lal hurriedly finished off her meal. She emitted a loud, long belch as she went to the public tap to rinse her mouth and wash her hands. After washing, she dried her mouth and hands with the loose end of her sari and walked back to her steel trunk. Belch. What do you mean by belch? It means to let air come out noisily from one's stomach. So we have a picture of a very clumsy, simple woman, Lakshmi. The train steamed in. Lakshmi found herself facing an almost empty interclass zenana compartment. Next to the guard's van at the tail end of the train, the rest of the train was packed. She heaved her squat, bulky frame through the door and found a seat by the window. She then opened her beetle case and made herself 2 beetle leaves charged with a red and white paste, minced beetle nuts and cardamoms. These she thrust into her mouth till her cheeks bulged on both sides. Then she rested her chin on her hands and sat gazing idly at the jostling crowd on the platform. Again, a beautiful description of the simple personality of Lady Lakshmi. There is a jostling crowd, rushing people moving on to board the train. And Lady Lakshmi is sitting there idly chewing her beetle leaves mixed with cardamoms and beetle nuts. The arrival of the train did not disturb Sir Mohanlal's sang froid. He continued to sip his scotch and ordered the bearer to tell him when he had moved the luggage to a first-class compartment. Excitement, bustle, and hurry were exhibitions of bad breeding, and Sir Mohan was eminently well-bred. He wanted everything tickety-boo and orderly. In his 5 years abroad, Sir Mohan had acquired the manners and aptitudes of the upper classes. Sang-froid is nothing but the ability to remain calm even in a difficult situation. Sir Mohan rarely spoke Hindustani. When he did, it was like an Englishman's, only the very necessary words and properly anglicized. But he fancied his English finished and refined at no less a place than the University of Oxford. He was fond of conversation, and like a cultured Englishman, he could talk on almost any subject: books, politics, people. How frequently had he heard English people say that he spoke like an Englishman? Sir Mohan wondered if he would be traveling alone. It was a cantonment, and some English officers might be on the train. A cantonment is nothing but a camp, an area, usually of a large size, where men are trained for military service. Sir Mohan's heart warmed at the prospect of an impressive conversation. He would retire to his corner by the window and get out a copy of the Times. He would fold it in a way in which the name of the paper was visible to others while he did the crossword puzzle. Perhaps someone would recognize his valuable tie, which he always wore while traveling. Sir Mohan would cohere his bearer to get the scotch out. Whisky never failed with Englishmen. Then followed Sir Mohan's handsome gold cigarette case filled with English cigarettes. He could use the Englishman as a medium to commune with his dear old England. Those 5 years of grey bags and gowns, of sports blazers and mixed doubles, of dinners at the Inns of Court. 5 years of a crowded, glorious life, worth far more than the 45 in India, with its dirty, vulgar countrymen. Balliol tie is a tie owned by students who have studied in the renowned Balliol College, a well-known college in Oxford. Sir Mohan's thoughts were disturbed by the bearer announcing the installation of the Sahib's luggage in a first-class coupe next to the engine. Sir Mohan walked to his coupe with a studied gait. He was dismayed. The compartment was empty. With a sigh, he sat down in a corner and opened the copy of the Times he had read several times before. Sir Mohan looked out of the window down the crowded platform. His face lit up as he saw 2 English soldiers trudging along, looking in all the compartments for room. They had their haversacks slung behind their backs and walked unsteadily. Sir Mohan decided to welcome them, even though they were entitled to travel only second class. Dismayed, Sir Mohan was very much dismayed. He was sad, he was shocked when he found the compartment empty. Then come 2 soldiers who were wearing haversacks. They are nothing but bags made of canvas that is carried on one's back. One of the soldiers came up to the last compartment and stuck his face through the window. He surveyed the compartment and noticed the unoccupied berth. "Hey, Bill," he shouted, "on here." His companion came up, also looked in, and looked at someone. "Get the nigger out," he muttered to his companion. They opened the door and turned to the half-smiling, half-protesting Sir Mohan. "Reserved," yelled Bill. "Janta, reserved. Army, Forge," exclaimed Jim, pointing to his khaki shirt. "Ekdam jao, get out." I say, surely," protested Sir Mohan in his Oxford accent. The soldiers paused. It almost sounded like English, but they knew better than to trust their inebriated ears. So the soldiers who are drunk, they try to make Sir Mohan leave the compartment. Inebriated suggests they were drunk. Forge is a Hindi word which means soldier. The soldiers picked up Sir Mohan's suitcase and flung it onto the platform. Then followed his thermos flask, briefcase, bedding, and the Times. Sir Mohan was livid with rage. "Preposterous, preposterous," he shouted, hoarse with anger. "I'll have you arrested. Guard, guard." "Keep your ruddy mouth shut," and Jim struck Sir Mohan flat on the face. The engine gave another short whistle, and the train began to move. The soldiers caught Sir Mohan by the arms and flung him out of the train. He reeled backwards, tripped on his bedding, and landed on the suitcase. Preposterous. Very shocking or annoying. Sir Mohan's feet were glued to the earth and he lost his speech. He stared at the lighted windows of the train going past him in quickening tempo. In the interclass Zenana compartment was Lakshmi, fair and fat, on whose nose the diamond nose ring glistened against the station lights. Her mouth was bloated with beetle saliva, which she had been storing up to spit as soon as the train had cleared the station. As the train sped past the lighted part of the platform, Lady Lal spat and sent a jet of red dribble flying across like a dart. So we have the falling action. Literal falls, Mohan falls on the platform, thrown down by the soldiers. And the innocent, naive Lady Mohan sitting in the Zanana compartment, chewing her beetle and spitting the beetle saliva out of the window. And what happens? It flies across like a dart, like an arrow. It rushes forward suddenly and falls on whom? On none other than Sir Mohanlal. What is the moral of the story? If one is too conceited or self-important, something will happen to make them look foolish. Having too much pride or confidence will cause one to make mistakes that lead to a setback of failure. It exemplifies the proverb, pride goes before a fall. The phrase is adapted from a verse in the book of Proverbs in the Bible. Proverbs 16 verse 18. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Now we may compare the character of Sir Mohanlal and Lakshmi. Sir Mohanlal, as we see, is an arrogant middle-aged man, a barrister by profession, dresses up as a high-ranked British official. He is very condescending to his wife, and he loves anything English. In striking contrast to him, we have Lakshmi. She is a traditional Indian woman, simple, uneducated. She wore a dirty sari and loved chewing betel leaves, but she was very proud of her husband's English ways. We have the list of synonyms for you. Opinionated, obese, haversack, inebriated, preposterous, zenana, haunches, vizier, cantonment, barrister, balliol type, ekchota, ruminate, amble, emitted, belch, sang-froid, dismayed, dart. Here is a list of antonyms: efficient, inebriated, frequently, short, dirty, empty, rival, large, appeared, fond, orderly, disturbed, visible. Shall we have a recap of the story? So Mohanlal is ashamed to be an Indian, and hence he tries to speak in English or in anglicized Hindustani and dresses up as a high-ranked British official. He tries to show off his immense knowledge of English. His wife Lakshmi is a traditional Indian woman, and due to this difference, they don't have a sweet married life. The rising action occurs on a journey of Mohanlal and Lakshmi in a train. He makes Lakshmi sit in the general compartment while he gets his seat arranged in the first-class compartment, which was meant for the British. There, he meets two British soldiers who try to abuse him. When the arrogant Mohanlal opposes them, he's thrown out of the train by the soldiers. And all he could do was just look through the rails on the moving train. For discussion and analysis, you may work on the character of Sir Mohanlal, Lakshmi and her role as a gullible wife. Gullible, a naive, innocent, ignorant woman. Significance or appropriateness of the title Karma. Khushwant Singh's use of humor and irony in the short story Karma. Irony is a literary device, a technique which points to a state of affairs that seem contrary to what one expects and is often amusing as a result. Humor, as we know, is a quality of being amusing or comic. There is irony in the portrayal of the character of Sir Mohanlal. Things to do. You can create a short story on any one of the following: an experience at the railway station, a train journey, an elaboration of the maxim, pride goes before a fall. These are the references used for this presentation. Thank you.